Hey there, plebians. Welcome to another Midsummer Night's Dream, the game tier list. This time we're going to be talking about Season 3.1. After the devs rolled out Cupid's Flower Patch 2.0. The devs at Fairland Studios, they realized that they messed up in Cupid's Flower Patch 1.0, so I guess they rolled out this patch as soon as possible. I would be glad about that. The devs acting quickly, but spoiler warning, as I was doing my research, it turns out they didn't completely fix all the bugs. All right. I hear that they were using the same like Robin Goodfellow software to playtest and handle bugs as last time. I personally wouldn't agree with that decision, but it's they're the company, right? So let's just move on with our list. You know how these videos work. Let's start with the top tiers and make our way down to the lower tiers. All right, first top tier. It's an obvious choice. Oberon, right? Best character in the game. Best S tier by far. It's surprising how overpowered he is and how long he's been overpowered. He has the ability to control weather buffs and debuffs. Honestly, he controls the entire game, right? Makes him, that makes him an S tier by standard, right? My staple. His power over his female shadow fighter, right, Titania, who's supposed to be broken. Uh, you know, it, I think that power difference needs to be patched in the next patch at least, right? His infatuation status debuffs that were introduced in Cupid's Flower Patch 1.0. OP changes the abilities and stats of the entire characters, right? I mean, the fact that he's the only one that gets to use the Cupid's Flower, the most OP magic item in the game by far. That makes him basically the decider of every single game. All right, let's move on to Theseus. Theseus is an S tier, arguably not as strong as Oberon, but he's Duke of Athens, right? He's got war bonuses against the Hippolyta players. He didn't really get any buffs in this patch though, or nerfs. So we're gonna move on. All right, those are two S tiers. Let's move on to A tiers. All right, first A tier we got Hippolyta. Not a surprise, actually. She's the queen of the Amazons. Spoiler warning, soon to be wife of Theseus. It's not really a surprise. I don't know if you read up on the lore yet, but that's kind of her status. Ever since her nerf in Act One, Scene One, though, she never really could make it back to you know to anything above A tier, right? Which is a little bit unfortunate, but she also didn't receive any buffs or nerfs in this patch. So we're gonna move on. All right. Oh, no, I got the wrong character. All right. So other A tiers, actually Titania. Let me move these around a little bit. Titania, so Queen of the Fairies, right? You might have said, she got nerfed out of the meta by Cupid's Flower Patch 1.0. I kind of disagree, right? Yeah, she has the infatuation debuff, but which moves her to the Chaser class, right? But she's still the Queen of the Fairies. Her chase game is still top notch. If I gave out minuses, she would definitely be in the A minus tier. But she really, you know, she didn't really get updated or fixed in this patch either. I'll just shut up about her for now. Let's move on to B tiers because this is where things get juicy. Right, this is where the last patch really shook up our mid and lower tier characters. So we're going to be talking about Demetrius. Now Demetrius, oh boy, let me tell you something about Demetrius. All right, so we've known he's had a bad matchup against Helena players for a long time, right? Since season 1.1, right? Helena's chase game was just on point, right? Demetrius players had to spend a lot of time just avoiding Helena players because they could not handle her masochism debuff, right? We all know about that. However, in the latest patch, Cupid's Flower Patch 2.0, Demetrius actually receives, an infatuation debuff that Fairland Studios thought would fix the matchup and make it even. But guess what? I think they didn't realize that Helena players actually gain bonus effects from chasing Demetrius players. So debuffing Demetrius, by lowering his runaway bonus, his flee bonus, actually nerfs Helena players as a result. And now Helena players have no game plan against Demetrius. The game the entire like relationship between those characters gets totally flipped, and so it's broken in the other sense, right? So I had to do some extensive playtesting to figure this relationship out because the game mechanics really complicated. But that's basically the sitch with Demetrius. All right, next B tier character we got Lysander. So Lysander, how could they do my boy Lysander wrong? All right, Lysander was actually nerfed in the last patch, right? Cupid's Flower Patch 1.0, but it was apparently on accident, right? It seems that they didn't that even in this patch he's still nerfed though. He still has the same infatuation debuff that got applied last in the last patch. I'm looking at you, Fairyland Studios, right? Lysander originally had incredible synergy, just mind blowing synergy with Hermia players, right? Hermia as a character, right? They were designed to be together, but apparently this wasn't enough, right? Lysander, who could honestly have been like a B plus tier if I gave out pluses and minuses. Now he's sitting at the lower end of B tier. He's now have he now has negative affinity with Hermia players, and his matchup against Helena is just gross. He's a chaser class now, which means he chases Helena, but Helena repels chasers, right? This is this isn't gonna work in the real game, right? Now what's funny is now that actually like both Lysander and Demetrius as characters have to contest for Helena players now, we're basically at the same problem that the meta was at before the Cupid's flower patches at all. Who knows how long Fairland Studios will take to patch up this mess. All right, we're gonna be skipping over C and D tiers because I don't think that characters really fit in those tiers right now. But let's talk about that means we're gonna move on to F tiers, right? And there are only two characters left, right? Which means spoiler warning, they're both an F tier, right? Now both of these characters were just indirectly nerfed off the face of the planet in the last patch, right? Let's talk about Helena. All right, let's just start with Helena. Okay, now this character, right? Originally had decent game plan, right? A decent game plan. A couple of seasons ago when she was a chaser class, right? She was one of the first players that actually benefited from her infatuation debuff. But guess what? When two of the other higher tier characters, Demetrius and Lysander, get degraded to chaser classes by the infatuation debuff, you have a character who loses to chasers, right? That when you have those two things, your character is going to suffer, right? F tier, that's bad. All right, on the opposite end, we have Hermia, right? Now, man, this character is not designed to be a chaser character, right? Man, this character got indirectly nerfed so hard, right? She's supposed to be a support character, right? That's was built in. Her affinity buff with Lysander, oh my, it gave her so many options, right? Obviously, not against higher tier characters like Theseus and Oberon, but she had a game plan, right? This patch took that and threw it in the dumpster, right? It sucks to say, but support characters like these just can't go solo. Now, it does say that, in the patch notes that they I guess they tried to play it off, right? Hermia's low height attribute is the reason why she ended up in this, getting this indirect nerf, but I honestly, it's a bad excuse in my opinion. So this is where these characters land in these tiers, in this tier list. That basically wraps up my video. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Make sure you to like and subscribe, and see ya.